Welcome into another edition of Cronkite Sports Live. I'm Ethan Ryder. Today I'm joined by Sam Stern. Sam, we got a lot to talk about. Let us know what we're doing.
Well, we had a very eventful week. Coach Edwards had his biggest game at ASU thus far. Soccer took on USC, great matchup, and then hockey is back in action. A lot to be excited for.
Well, before we look forward to that UCLA game this weekend, we're going to look back to ASU's 35-13 win over the Colorado Buffaloes. One of the big stories from the game is a seemingly improved play from the passing game. Two players who stood out were freshman wide receivers LV Bunkley-Shelton and Johnny Wilson. Before this game, no player had eclipsed 70 yards receiving. Both Bunkley-Shelton and Wilson did so. As LV Bunkley-Shelton was 76 yards, Johnny Wilson was 70 himself, and those yards after catch was a big play as well. Quarterback Jaden Daniels is still trying to find his go-to receiver. Some may say it isn't necessary, but if he does, Bunkley-Shelton and Wilson are candidates to be that guy. Their performances against Colorado certainly don't hurt their case. Now to ASU's game this Saturday. The Sun Devils take on the number 20 UCLA Bruins, led by fourth-year head coach Chip Kelly, who is a pioneer for the dynamic spread no-huddle offense that defines college football today. It seemed like a matter of time before they started rolling. Our own Peyton Gallagher is here to tell you all you need to know about Coach Kelly's team.
The unsung factor in any Chip Kelly offense is a good ground game. That has always been the case, and it's certainly true for UCLA this season, as Michigan transfer Zach Charbonnet has headlined a backfield populated by multiple contributors. Behind an experienced and flatly mean offensive line, Charbonnet leads the Pac-12 in multiple categories so far this season. This run-first approach serves as a blunt object of sorts, used to open up plenty of avenues downfield. Fourth-year starting quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson has taken advantage of those windows, averaging a jaw-dropping 18 yards per completion. That figure is the best in the Pac-12 and second nationally amongst all Division I quarterbacks. Most of the passing attack will be funneled through star tight end Greg Dulcich and receiver Kyle Phillips, but 10 different UCLA players have caught a pass this year. On the other side of the line, the Bruin defense takes an aggressive stance on the game of football. UCLA will often dial up 6- and 7-man pressures, forcing their opponent to either commit to leaving extra players in to block or to getting the ball out quickly to playmakers. This aggression has been rewarded often, but punished just as much. UCLA ranks in the bottom 10% of FBS teams in passing defense, allowing over 350 yards a game. For more on how ASU may look to attack that pressure point, we'll send it back to the studio.
Thank you, Peyton, for that in-depth analysis on UCLA. We now bring in WCSN football reporter Hunter Hipple to talk about ASU. Before we talk about how ASU is going to attack that passing defense from UCLA, let's first look back on how they did against Colorado. Some might have said that was a desperate need for a win for ASU. How did they get that win against the Buffaloes?
Yeah, I think two things from that win really stood out. One, the blocking up front and from the receivers. Kellen Diesch was somebody that was a high-profile transfer from Texas A&M last year. I thought he played really, really well against Colorado, as did the entire offensive line. And it's kind of a steady Eddie group, and we knew that going into the year. But that was a really, really important aspect of that game for them. And then with the receivers as well, Johnny Wilson, 6'7" frame, he's going to be able to get it done in the passing game, catching balls, but also blocking up front. I thought those two guys really stood out. And then also, I thought the secondary played really, really well, which was a big necessity coming out of BYU, where, for lack of a better word, they kind of got torched by that vertical passing game that the Cougars have. Without Chase Lucas last week, it was really a big deal for all the rest of those guys to step up, regroup, come together, and put together a solid effort, which got the win done.
Yeah, and ASU so far this season have been a run-heavy offense, per se, with a three-headed monster in the backfield. But on Saturday against the Buffaloes, you touched on it a little bit, the passing game was very improved. So how did they get that done, and who really stepped up? Yeah, I think a lot of it had to do with, look, as I mentioned, Johnny Wilson is a 4-star recruit. LV Bunkley-Shelton was also a 4-star recruit. These guys, Wilson had a kind of an up-and-down freshman year last year. LV Bunkley-Shelton was quite good last year and then came into camp as a backup. So we haven't really seen the full ceiling of these guys so far. And I think what we're starting to see now, and what we maybe was the stepping stone last week, was these guys are now playing up to their potential, which are 4-star players. You put that with a 4-star quarterback like Jaden Daniels, that's a potent offense. And I think what you're starting to see now is just those guys really put it together. And this is what the coaching staff has been waiting on all preseason
offseason, all season, everyone has said this passing game needs to get better. We have to do better in this regard, and they are finally now doing better. So I think that that's really important and makes for a really dynamic offense when you put it together, like you said, with that running game.
And they put it together against a team like Colorado, a much different team to face in number 20 UCLA this weekend. Going to Pasadena at the Rose Bowl, they had problems on the road against BYU. What do the Sun Devils need to do to beat this UCLA team?
I think it's really simple and almost kind of a little cliche, but look at Dorian Thompson-Robinson and what he can do as a passer and as a runner. ASU struggled against BYU with Jaron Hall. They even had a little bit of trouble with Doug Brumfeld from UNLV in that game in week 2. I think stopping DTR, whether it's taking out his passing game or taking out his running game, if they can take away just one of those, I think that that's going to set them up to have a lot of success against UCLA's offense. But they got to get rid of one. If they let both torch them, then I think it might be a little bit of a tough time on Saturday.
Definitely. Thank you so much for coming in today, Hunter, to talk to us about ASU football. Now we're going to head over to the Vault. ASU is not the first time that they've played against a ranked UCLA team in the Rose Bowl. In this week's Vault, we're going to check what happened 6 years ago, almost to the date, when ASU took on a number 7 UCLA. The game started off with a safety, so here's the kickoff from that safety. Tevin White deep to receive. Fumbles it, but it didn't matter. He picked it up and was explosive. There's a missed tackle. Let's start counting them. There's another missed tackle, makes them all miss, continues to go forward. Here's a pancake block from his teammate, trips over the pancake, but gets all the way to the 31-yard line. Tevin White now from Mike Bercovici takes the pass in for a 12-yard touchdown. It's currently 9-0 to the Sun Devils in Pasadena. Josh Rosen passes in. It's intercepted this time by Vilaimi Moiakiola. A good interception that time gives ASU some good field position. They make that a field goal. Now Mike Bercovici doesn't go through the air. He keeps it himself on the ground. It's a house call. 34-yard touchdown for Bercovici. It's now 22-10 Sun Devils. Bercovici goes to the air to DJ Foster. That's an 11-yard touchdown, and it's 29-10 to the underdog Sun Devils. Kalen Balaj says, I will put the cherry on top. 3rd and 6, 50 seconds left in the 4th. The pile just keeps on moving. In for the touchdown, a 38-23 win over the number 7 UCLA Bruins in Pasadena at the Rose Bowl. Bercovici got no offers from any LA football teams, but he got it done for ASU in the Rose Bowl. 38-23, Sun Devils win.
We now head over to the pitch where the Sun Devils take on number 21 ranked USC. Here we go. Wilkinson getting tackled there. The Sun Devils were strong in that first half, looked very aggressive. Here's Olivia Wynn doing what she does all the time, getting in the scrum, getting aggressive. Here comes Corey Sullivan down the right side. She crosses one perfectly to Nicole Douglas, and she puts it right in the back of the net. They take an early 1-0 lead. Here comes USC. This is Simone Jackson. She creeps one right by Gutlags. Excellent shot there, and they tie it up, and they took all the momentum from there. USC was getting plenty of shots on goal going into that second half, and they really took over. We go here, and look at this follow rebound. That's Savannah DiMello. Perfect rebound there, and they take a 2-1 lead. But the Sun Devils still have time. Alexia Delgado back from injury. She puts one right for Nicole Douglas, has a chance, and can't get a goal. And that's the end of the game there, and the Sun Devils end up losing this one 2-1. We now head over to Nicole Douglas to say the team's overall effort post-game.
In my opinion, we were the better team in the first half. You know, we were ready to come out in that second half, and ultimately we did fight to the end, but we switched off for half a second, and ultimately they punished us.
That's Sun Devil soccer. Their next match is going to be on Sunday against UCLA. It's no secret that the Sun Devil volleyball squad has struggled as of late. Our Sun Devil volleyball reporter, Kellen Croxton, takes a dive into what exactly is going wrong.
Thanks, Sam. Well, it's clear Arizona State volleyball is in a bit of a slump as they've lost their past 3 matches in the 5th set. These 5-set matches are crucial to the team as they've had 7 matches go to set 5. That's 3 more than any other team in the Pac-12. The team's pretty inconsistent within the first 3 sets, but they always get their footing back by set 4. In fact, the Devils are 9-0 in the fourth set, but when they get to the fifth set, they're only 2-5. Arizona State's getting momentum going into the fifth set, but the lack of control mixed with the struggle to stop long runs takes the Devils out of these matches. Within the conference team, the team is last in blocks per game and has allowed more blocks than almost any other team. Long runs are also an issue. Against Arizona, they gave up a run of 7. Against Oregon and UNLV, they gave up a run of 6. These points are vital in sets to 15. But despite these struggles, the team is in good shape behind conference kill leader Iman Isanovic. It's a rough streak, but bringing top 25 teams to a fifth set is great for a young team like Arizona State's. Our Nick Borgia breaks down the in-depth of why ASU is losing in the fifth set.
Along with Iman Isanovic leading the Pac-12 in kills, junior libero Annika Larson is at the top of the conference with 215 digs. While these high numbers are possible, maybe just because of the sheer amount of extra volleyball the Sun Devils seem to play, there's no doubt that they're able to keep up with some of the best schools in the country. Arizona State has gone to 5 with teams like Louisville, UNLV, Arizona, and Oregon, but they've also done the same with lower caliber schools such as Nebraska, Omaha, or Utah Valley. So that leaves the big question, what exactly is happening to ASU when almost every volleyball match seems to go the full distance? Well, when a team goes to 5 with the 10-1 number 13 Oregon Ducks, but does the same with a mediocre Summit League squad like Nebraska Omaha, it's clear that the Sun Devils play to the pace of the opposing team. Instead of dropping 2 sets right away to Oregon and being forced to try and pull off the unlikely reverse sweep against a more talented squad, ASU needs to come out of the gate playing their volleyball and not letting the other team command the match. Of their 7 5-set matches, ASU has only won the first set twice, meaning that for the majority of the time, they are playing catch-up as they adapt to the team they are playing against. Instead, the Sun Devils need to set their own pace. They've proven time and time again that they have what it takes to hang with the top-tier volleyball teams, and they're just one step away from turning those 5-set losses into 5-set wins. For the majority of the teams that they face, an ASU-controlled pace and rhythm would allow for 4-set and even 3-set victories, but tonight they will be put to the test once again as they face number 17 Stanford in the Bay.
Thank you guys for the Sun Devil volleyball update. The Sun Devils will look to bounce back tonight against Stanford at 7. We are now joined by Sun Devil hockey reporter Matt Venezia to give us an update on the hockey team. Matt, thanks for joining me.
Absolutely, Sam. Excited to be here.
So let's talk about this goaltending situation. Last year, you could describe it as kind of discombobulated and crowded with 2 goaltenders splitting time. What's that situation looking like currently?
Yeah, and to just talk a little bit about what happened last year, the Sun Devils, maybe not by choice, they kind of had to split time because against the Big Ten opponents, both goaltenders didn't really fare that well individually, leaving Coach Powers really no other choice. Both Evan DeBrouwer and Cole Brady only won 3 games apiece in that Big Ten conference, and they struggled. They didn't look very good. When you look at goals against average, Cole Brady was at a 3.31. Evan DeBrouwer was averaging over 4 goals given up per game, and that's why they had to go to that route of having the goaltender split time. Everyone in the organization understands that Cole Brady is the guy. He was a 2019 fifth-round selection of the New Jersey Devils. He's only going to be a sophomore this year. I mean, he has age on his side. Everyone knows that, including Evan DeBrouwer, and that's actually why he ended up transferring now to Bentley University. He's no longer with the program, and it's funny that we say now that Cole Brady's going to be the guy. Per Sun Devil hockey reporter Greg Cameron, Brady's actually out this weekend with an illness. He won't even be in net. It'll be the backup goaltender Ben Cross, who is a transfer from Miami, Ohio.
Now, in front of the net, let's talk about the defensive pairings. What's that situation looking like going into tomorrow's matchup?
Well, a lot of the same guys that you saw last year on the blue line are going to be there again this year for Arizona State. Just to name a few, grad student and co-captain Jacob Wilson and juniors Jack Judson will be there as well for Arizona State, just to name a few of the guys that we saw last year in the Big Ten. Look, this is a Sun Devil team that averaged over 4 goals given up against last year. They need to be better defensively, helping out Cole Brady or whoever is in net for ASU. An addition that will absolutely help that cause is Ty Murchison. He's a freshman that the Sun Devils recruited and know a lot about him. They actually ended up playing against his U18 developmental program team last year in 2 exhibitions, and the Sun Devils saw a lot from him, and he's a fantastic kid. He's a freshman this year, drafted in the 2021 NHL draft in the 5th round by the Philadelphia Flyers. I mean, the Sun Devils have a lot of talent, and he will be another addition to this great group.
Well, tomorrow's the big day. ASU has their season opener against UMass Lowell. What should we expect to see in that matchup?
Yeah, the Riverhawks play in the Hockey East Conference. Again, it's a really good stout program that has some of the likes of Providence, BU. I mean, the list goes on and on. These are some of the best programs that you see in college hockey. This team went 7-8-1 last year in a limited sample size due to COVID. So just because they finished under 500 does not mean the Sun Devils should underestimate them at any point this season. Now, talking about ASU, sure, they play at Oceanside, and it doesn't really feel like a hockey vibe, but there really is no other vibe other than Oceanside. I mean, the Sun Devils are one of the best teams in the country when they play on their home ice just down the road in Tempe. In the 2018-2019 year, the Sun Devils went 12-3-1 at home, and a year after that, in 2019-2020, they went 12-2-2. They're very good at home ice. It doesn't matter if it doesn't look like an arena or not. They get the job done when they're playing here in Tempe, and that should be something to note if you're the Riverhawks coming in this weekend.
Thank you, Matt, for the preview as the Sun Devils take on UMass Lowell for a 2-game series to start off their season.
In 1974, developers were looking for a name for the city's new ice arena. They ended up landing on Oceanside, hoping to bring a West Coast feel to the new venue. Little did they know, decades later, a new Division I hockey team would call Oceanside home, ushering in palm trees, hot weather, and West Coast hockey to the NCAA. Oceanside's impact in the Valley goes back decades. In 1975, they began hosting and offering youth hockey program, a program called DYHA. This gave a lot of kids in Arizona the chance to experience the game of hockey for the first time. But the influence Oceanside had continued to stretch even further. In 1996, when the Phoenix Coyotes moved to town, they used Oceanside as a practice facility for the first 2 NHL seasons. Maybe even crazier than that is the fact that other NHL teams used the ice at Oceanside well before the Coyotes were even here in Phoenix. With expansion taking place in the West during the 60s, other NHL organizations would use Oceanside as a practice facility while making their way to Los Angeles to play the Kings. It's clear that Oceanside has impacted the Valley community in a variety of ways over the past few decades. But now it's time for one last ride. With the first home opener in over 2 years, ASU Hockey and Company have been craving to get back in front of friends, family, and fans at Oceanside. Sun Devil men's hockey will be back in action for one last ride at Oceanside on October 2nd for a matchup against UMass Lowell.
Thank you, Ethan. Let's just say the Pac-12 is the premier conference for cross country. Our very own Sun Devil cross-country reporter, Henry Domini, has the latest on what to expect from the Powerhouse Conference this season.
Thanks, Sam. In the most recent U.S. Track and Field and Cross Country Coaches Association poll, the Pac-12 has shown that they are one of the nation's best conferences for cross country. The Pac-12 placed 4 teams in the top 15, more than any other conference in the top 25. Number 3, Stanford, number 7, Colorado, number 9, Oregon, and number 13, Washington could be looking to impress more at the upcoming October 15th pre-nationals meet hosted by Florida State. Some runners to look out for on these top teams include Oregon super senior Cooper Tier won the Bill Dellinger Invitational 8-kilometer run on September 23rd, and his teammate Aaron Bienenfeld, who finished close second behind him. Another very strong duo in the conference comes from the reigning champions Stanford. The junior and sophomore duo of Charles Hicks and Cole Sprout led the highest-ranked Pac-12 team to a win at the Florida State Open in Tallahassee 2 weeks ago. Hicks and Sprout placed second and third and were a dominant showing of 5 runners in the top 11 for Stanford. Also, Colorado's Eduardo Herrera finished second at Oklahoma State's Cowboy Jamboree, which had a very strong field, including reigning national champions Northern Arizona University and 4th-ranked Oklahoma State. This continued success of perennial teams make the Pac-12 a powerhouse in cross-country, and at this year's NCAA championship meet, look out for many of these individuals and teams to place highly for the Pac-12.
Just 2 weeks ago, Sun Devil football was preparing for the biggest game to date in the Herm Edwards era. The trip to Provo didn't quite go as planned. After a 27-17 loss where the Sun Devils beat themselves, ASU plummeted out of the top 25. A week later, back in the comfort of their own home stadium, they bounced back with an expected win over Colorado. Now, here we sit again, ASU versus a ranked opponent on the road in a game that could be considered, quote-unquote, the biggest game of the Herm Edwards era to this point. You might ask, how is that possible? ASU did just lose to BYU in the game that was supposed to be the start to many other games like this, with a lot on the line. However, when you look around the Pac-12, and specifically the Pac-12 South, you start to see why ASU is at this point. The Pac-12 preseason poll ranked ASU 3rd in its division, behind the likes of USC and UCLA. USC hasn't had the greatest start to a season. A quarterback carousel has ensued, and losses to Oregon State and Stanford have seen them start conference play at 1-2. UCLA, on the other hand, can be proud about their start to the season, with an upset over, at the time, number 16 LSU, and their only loss coming in a close game to Heisman hopeful Jake Haener and the current number 18 Fresno State. With ASU starting conference play 1-0 themselves, they sit tied for first with both UCLA and Utah, with the Bruins being the clear competition. Now we circle around to Saturday, a game that has the chance to define both of these teams' seasons. Lose and your path to a Pac-12 South title becomes more difficult to envision. Win and you control your own destiny. These teams will most likely be fighting for the top spot throughout the year, and this game is a chance for a head start. When you look at the Pac-12 in its current state, there's no sugarcoating it. Now is the time for Herm Edwards and company. Teams around the Pac-12 are floundering, and with ASU's schedule not including number 3 Oregon this season, the path really couldn't be any clearer. With how teams have played, UCLA is the biggest hurdle. Even with the loss to BYU, the Bruins are a big enough hurdle that if they clear it, it could turn around ASU's season. There's an opening for success, and all that's left to do is take it. The only thing in their way is a packed Rose Bowl and a talented UCLA squad. And that's the way it is. And now we are going to get some top plays. Starting off at number 3, Sun Devils versus Trojans on the pitch. Corey Sullivan's going to get the ball here. She drives down the right-hand side. Nicole Douglas is in the middle. Look at this. A little bit nifty turn behind the back. Shoots it. Bottom corner. Nicole Douglas has been on a scoring route for ASU. ASU ended up losing this game 2-1 against USC. Look at it again. Whoop. Turns around. Finishes in the bottom corner. Nicole Douglas.
And now number 2. We go to ASU football. This trick play was run to absolute perfection. Look, Ricky Pearsall over the top to Rashad White, and he's got a wide open lane down the left side. He's going to do a little bit of a Cupid shuffle right, and he goes right into the end zone. What a play for the Sun Devils.
And as we go to number 1, we just saw Rashad White. We're going to see him again because this time Rashad White decided to show off the bunnies. Daniels passes it off to Rashad White, and whoop! See you later, Colorado defender. He gets right up and above, and we'll see it again. Rashad White with the hurdle. ASU come away with a 35-13 win and start the season 1-0 in the conference. Well, Sam, this was a great Cronkite Sports Live. Another episode, tons of football, tons of other ASU sports that have been a big week in Arizona State sports. For everyone in the studio, for you, Sam, for everyone here in the studio and in the back staff, this was a great one. I'm Ethan Ryder. That's Sam Stern. We'll see you guys next time.